Well, I think actually that the low-cost airlines in particular, if we think in Europe of Wizz and Ryanair and EasyJet, they are going to really stretch their pricing to the limit. And I think if that means they charge almost nothing in terms of their own revenue, they'll be prepared to do that. We've already heard Michael O'Leary talk about the mother of all fare wars. And yes, it's true those taxes are there, but you could still be talking about getting a ticket for a handful of pounds or euros to travel. But I think what you described about the atmosphere in places when you travel as being different is a key factor. This whole challenge of social distancing is going to inhibit especially the leisure travel experience, and we've talked about separation of people on flights with middle seat 3 and so on. That's not practical in economic terms, but the whole process of going through an airport now as travel begins to build is going to be so slowed down it can be absorbed when there are very few of us traveling, but as we get to larger numbers it could actually result in significant delays to flights, or in reality a big reduction in capacity. I mean, some airports could lose 20 to 40% of capacity. Dublin Airport, for example, has reported it would be 70% down because of this need to keep us all apart.
Well, let's talk about that potential increase for a moment, John, here, because in the short term, I think the airlines are just having to manage with the situation as it evolves here. But my question is about the structural shifts for the longer term. Is this industry actually just going to contract and operate at a smaller base if the working from home, the business travelling shifts remain permanent? Do you think we'll go back to things how they were, or has there been a significant structural change in the way the business world is going to operate?
I'm very much of that school, Jeff, that there will be a structural change. I think back to 9/11, and I remember thinking the same thing then, that business travel melted away, the all-important high-margin business class travel, and it did come back over many years. Indeed, it came back to higher levels. However, I think 20 or so years later, you're right to say we're in a very different place. Many people have become used to this video conferencing. The choice of systems and the ease with which they work and the reliability is that much better than it was 20 years ago. So it is very easy to do. Of course, companies are going to be very cash strapped anyway. Those that indeed survive as we come towards recession, and many companies simply disappear. So there is going to be an impact that way out of choice of people traveling less. And I think there's also an element of many companies are looking at their environmental responsibility and saying we're not sending our executives as often face to face, they will just do the meetings online. So I think that for airlines who rely on business customers, business class customers, particularly long-haul carriers, such as those network groups like Lufthansa, IAG and Air France-KLM, this is a really important consideration right now. It would require them to make big changes to their business model, as we see, for example, IAG is starting to do, to cut their cost base, because you can't support the kind of infrastructure that these airlines have today unless you're carrying large amounts of this high-margin business traffic.